is going on, family? Welcome back to the next episode. So, first and foremost, make sure that you like and subscribe. Make sure that the notification bell so that you know when on Wednesdays these videos will be getting put out. Normally, it is a Wednesday to Wednesday cycle. Just what time of day is what matters there. If you would like to see the videos as soon as they get uploaded, make sure that you join my Patreon. And depending on the tier that you pick to join, there are other perks which include getting discounts on my web store for cool merch like this, as well as other various things that I sell from laser cutting and engraving. That being said, let's move on to what's actually happening today. So, to make a long story incredibly short, coming from me from a very interesting angle right now because I have essentially my, not security, my safety hatch open, emergency hatch, there we go. My emergency hatch open, so it's kind of more of a skylight right now, and if I get distracted every now and then and look out of that, it's because I can currently see the actual moon. So that's kind of interesting to watch because it happens to be on an angle that's straight ahead to me at the angle that I'm sitting facing upward. In any event, so today, even though it doesn't really look like it from the particular angle that I've picked because you really can't see much of the floor here, today was a little bit of a cleaning day. I decided to do light work today just because the back end of my day was kind of open-ended, and I kind of sort of made some plans to get some work done in regards to the brackets for my locks, but that didn't technically work out. And I was kind of basically keeping myself ready to go at a moment's notice just in case that went down, but I never heard back from the person, so it is what it is. I do have a secondary option in regards to those, so I'm not really annoyed or bothered per se by what happened, as far as how it happened. At the end of the day, there are other ways that I can do what I want to do with the material that I have access to. So, not really ending my day, spoiler kind of thing, make my day difficult or anything like that, but I was hoping that things would play out a little differently than they actually did. That's okay. But yeah, so today, as I mentioned before, did a little bit of cleaning. I'll probably continue that tomorrow in terms of just organizing the stuff that I have in the bus for right now. I will throw up, most likely throw up some pictures and possibly video, but I've decided that the cable management that is being used on either side of the bus right now, I think I'm going to leave it as is with a caveat. So I've been chewing on the idea, just kind of staring at the space, trying to decide what I want to do with it, and I've come to the conclusion that I like the idea of utilizing that space for cable management in general. So as I do the electrical with the bus in regards to the solar paneling that will be on top, that's the perfect space to run the wires for the solar paneling. So there's the option of being able to run the wires straight from the solar panels where they're mounted, when they get mounted, directly into the bus, and then channel them through that space, or I can run them along the top of the bus and then have them all come through a single hole somewhere in the top of the bus, and then ran through to where they need to be in the rest of the bus that way. But I kind of like the idea of essentially having the ducts themselves be utilized for the rest of the cabling that I intend on putting in for powering, lights and laptops and computers and so on and so forth. So I think I'm gonna stick with that. I am still on the fence about what I want to do in terms of a shower. I've solidified my ideas as far as like a toilet and a bathroom area but I haven't officially decided what side of the bus I want it on. It's probably going to go right here to my left, but we'll see how that plays out. And that, honestly, the space that I chose makes the most sense. But yeah, things could change as time goes on. We'll see. Outside of that, basically the spot that you are hanging from, or the camera is hanging from, shall we say, is right above the back seats, which will most likely be where some form of a pull-out type of setup is going to be. For my general personal space is going to be the main space that I spend the majority of my time in when I'm not doing work or, out and about handling things. This whole back end is pretty much going to be my personal space, but centralized around that spot. So working on figuring out exactly how I want to do that. I've got a couple of really nice ideas. I just need to chop up some material and we'll do some measurements. Chop up some material and then move forward. Because to be totally honest, I've been back and forth about the concept. And truth be told, I think I'm going to opt out of everything that I can in regards to building with wood. Initially, the reasons were different. Now, I guess, truth be told, the number one reason that makes the most sense and is the most obvious is the price of lumber. The price of lumber is astronomical. I have no idea if or when it's going to go back to quote-unquote normal, if we have a new normal, in regards to that. But at the same time, I'm kind of not worried about it because the secondary reasoning behind it, and it's less to do with my expertise, even though it probably will sound like it has to do with my personal expertise. But it has more to do with this overarching situation as a whole. One of the biggest issues that comes with dealing with wood is rotting and general decomposure. Now, yeah, I can get treated wood, which would cost me more. I can treat the wood myself, which will cost me more in expenses as well as time and energy that goes into that, as well as the research to make sure that I do it the right way. But ultimately, I feel like those two major issues combined, and the fact that I don't want to spend the next 3 years doing this project, I'd like to at least get the initial situation off of the ground so that I can be mobile in the next few months at very least. And I've lost so much time when it comes to the project in and of itself. That's kind of a setback. So I probably won't be as elaborate or get as far along in the conversion process as I would like in terms of certain things that I have interest in doing. But that's okay because if I do it in the way that I'm planning out in my head, things will be modular enough where I can go back and retrofit what I need. Because one of the biggest issues that has come up in conversation, whether it be in person or it be like Facebook groups that I'm in and social media stuff in general, as far as people going back and forth about the concept of builds in general, is the idea of making a mistake or finishing a function or portion of the project and deciding or realizing that you need to go back and fix that. You need to go back and change that, or what have you. So I think that the overarching concept here for me is going to be, I'm going to treat it like a house. And what I mean by that is I'm going to make the house nice first. I'm going to deal with the house and its functionality and sturdiness and whatnot first. And then I'm going to add things to it. But I'm going to do it in a way like you would in a regular house where you can move your furniture in and out as you need to and it not be too problematic. So even though major things like cabinetry and like the sink area and any kind of extra walls that I add to whatever degree, they can go up just fine. but I'm going to do it in a way where taking them down to modify something around that area won't be the end of my life. You know, it won't take me forever. It won't be a massive undertaking. But at the same time, once that stuff is in place, making sure that it stays in place is a key factor. So there's a little bit more planning on the front end of that, as far as how things are going to be secured in the places they're going to be secured. I'm probably going to put more effort into floor securing than wall securing, especially since I haven't officially decided if I want to do anything with my walls. Plus, on top of that, I don't really have that much actual wall space because I have so many windows. So, you know, the concept of utilizing wall space in terms of bolting things to it or securing things to it, to them, I should say, it's kind of hit or miss. Especially depending on where I decide to put things, because there's only a couple spots that are like, you know, a pretty good amount of wall space that's available, and that's primarily in the area that I'm dubbing the kitchen, because where I want to put basically the sink and the storage for food and things along those lines, and places to cook and whatnot, that has the most actual wall space, because it's right below windows where seats used to be. So all the wall space between the raised floor and where the window sill is, or the bottom of the window is at, there's more there than anywhere else in the bus. So it's plausible that I might secure things to the wall there, but it's not absolutely necessary. I feel that the smartest way to do this is going to be securing things to the floor, and if I build things the way that I want to build things, then the process of the building of things will be part of the design. It'll be in the design to be able to bolt things to the floor as necessary. It'll probably also be in the design to have space underneath these structures in order to be able to remove them fairly easily. So, and be able to move them around very easily. There's the concept of having the possibility of having things on rails. I haven't hammered out exactly how I want to do that yet, but it is something that's kind of in the ether in relation to that. So that is a possibility, but it's a slim possibility because I feel like that might be an overly elaborate setup. But I'll let you guys know, because with the fact that I'm opting out of working with wood for most of the things that I'm doing in here, basically what I'm shifting to in place of that is going to be a lot of composite material, or and in some cases I'm going to be working with like steel or, you know, aluminum or something along those lines. So we'll see how it all plays out. But I wanted to share that particular revelation with you guys because moving forward, as I start to install things, once I get the floor up, because the floor, at least the back section, I should be able to do soonish. But definitely the front section I want to get up at some point in time, because I've already bought the material to redo the floors, and I mean that's not the only reason. I want to redo the floors because I want to make sure that I don't have any issues underneath those floors as far as rotten wood, which I mentioned before. I don't want to replace and have more rotting in there, or spots that are weak or actually have holes in them from the metal floor that's most likely underneath. I still haven't officially figured out if there is a metal floor underneath, so there's that as well. Knowing how deep the floor is something that I need to figure out, because that will also solidify officially the type and the amount of insulation that I want to do, because the main space that I definitely intend on insulating is going to be the floor, at least in terms of replacing the floor. So if I'm going to replace the floor, of course I'm going to insulated properly, or at least to the best of my ability and within my budget. Yeah. Hopefully that will play out sooner rather than later, because I've kind of reached the point where I realize that that's going to be difficult for me to do solo. So I'm trying to recruit someone to help me out with that. We'll see where that goes. And if I just decide to say screw it and bet it all, and do everything that I can do to the best of my ability in my current condition. Because things need to get done. Time is passing, and I don't like feeling like time is being wasted. Don't get me wrong, I have needed my time, my downtime for health purposes, and I have needed to do a lot of other things health related, like doctor's visits and physical therapy and all of that stuff, as well as continue to try to keep things afloat with the business. But at the same time, there has been a lot of time that I've wanted to put into managing this process, and I have not been able to put all of the time that I've had access to, and I am not happy with that. For reasons that are reasons, I'm not gonna get in my feelings about it. It is what it is. But moving forward, I want to get things done, and I'm ready to make some personal sacrifices in terms of that, if I have to, in order to do that, because I don't want this to take forever. Like, don't get me wrong, the idea of taking my time and making it right the first time is phenomenal. I don't want to knock anybody that goes that route, because I have my neighbor and his buddy. Well, my neighbor in particular has been working on his bus for almost 3 years now, from what I remember last conversation I had with him. And his buddy, I think, has been working on his for about a year under that, so a year to 2 years, I believe. And they've gotten pretty far. But of course, on one note, they're only doing it on weekends, so that kind of makes sense. Whereas I'm trying to get being here on a nearly daily basis, as close to daily as I possibly can. So, I'm definitely going to be ramping that up, especially now that I have some tools in my belt as far as my situation outside of the bus to improve my condition. I'm going to try to be out here more often and for a longer period of time, just to get things done that need to be done. And depending on tools I have access to and time and availability, I think I'm just going to muscle through dealing with the floor if I absolutely have to do it by myself. Because I want it done. It needs to be done. And it is by far the most elaborate part of this process, in my mind at least right now, because there's only really a slim chance that I'm actually going to go through with doing anything with the ceiling and the walls as of right now. Mostly due to, generally speaking, it not making that much sense to do much. Yeah, it doesn't really make too much sense at the end of the day. And I've been trying to hash out it making sense so that I could have a good reason for taking down my walls and my ceiling. But honestly, I can't come up with good enough reasons to go through that yet. But again, that gives making things so that I can actually remove my furniture and whatnot when necessary, gives me the ability to, when I reach that point and I'm mentally in a place that makes sense for that to happen, I can just take some time off from whatever I'm doing, and plan ahead to do that. In the meantime and in between time, I do realize that stepping away from that as far as getting it built and done before I start journeying out could possibly play against me in terms of keeping the bus warm when I'm in a cold area or keeping the bus cool when I'm in a hot area. But truth be told, the first, I feel more like keeping the things that need to be safe warm, including myself, matters more than keeping the entire internal of the bus warm, first and foremost. That's just a mental survival thing that just makes more sense to me at the end of the day. And two, as far as keeping cool when it's too hot, I got all these windows, and a good portion of them have the emergency exits, so I can actually latch them open, make kind of look like wings, but latch them open and be able to use that to create a decent amount of airflow within the bus. The last few days that I've been in here have been a good example of that, because it's been pretty muggy and hot outside in general. But because of the location that my shop is in, for whatever reason, there's a decently consistent airflow that cuts across this parking lot, so it stays mildly windy all the time. And with that being said, not even propping the windows open from the emergency latches, but just opening them from the sliding panels as is, has kept the airflow in the bus pretty decent. So the temperature in here has been probably between 4 and 10 degrees less than whatever's outside. Like right now, I'm not catching the time at the moment, but the sun is starting to set off to my right here, and the temperature has dropped enough for me to almost kind of feel in the bus right now like I want to wear a jacket or a sweater or something. Like I can't tell you the exact temperature, but I know it's pretty chilly in here. It's probably in the 60s right now, just in the bus. It's in the 60s with the air flowing past me. I should point that out, because the air is not just sitting and stale. But that's important. And that's something I'm taking into consideration with all that I'm doing. And that's one of the reasons why dealing with the walls is kind of questionable for me right now. Because I like the way the windows are. I like my windows in general. Regardless of whether I built something in front of them, I would still want my windows, because if nothing else, I can have a setup that involves like a cabinet or a shelf in front of that window, but then I can build a space behind that shelf that I can then open the window and have some form of incoming or outgoing airflow behind that shelf. So, if I hide a window from the inside, I don't care, because that's always an option that I could utilize. And when it comes to keeping things, keeping the temperature happy in here for me, I like airflow. I like airflow at all times, whether I'm hot, whether I'm trying to be hot or I'm trying to be cold. I love airflow, even if it's only mild. And having fans in the windows and ducts that I make behind shelving and whatnot in order to increase the airflow, it's all good all day for me. Not even a question, not even a problem. And that actually eliminates, if I do that, eliminates me needing to have ways to put fans in windows if I'm building a duct right in front of the window that has the fan that then has the airflow into the bus. Why bother trying to fit something in the window when I can put it right in front of the window? I do want to see how wide some of these windows can open, because those double fans that people buy for house windows, I like the idea of putting some of those vertically in these windows when the opportunity presents itself, but I don't know if it would fit. I am 80% sure that I own one of those, but I have no idea where it happens to be at the moment. So I'm going to go looking for that so I can actually have it in hand, so I can measure and compare to the opening in the window to see if that's even plausible. If not, no worries, because there's a couple of ideas that I've already come up with utilizing the fans that come out of computers. So, I have a lot of ideas on how to rebuild things and salvage parts from various things in order to make things that I need that either don't exist yet or don't exist in that fashion. So that's part of the fun of dealing with this thing, because all of the building that I'm doing in here is unique to me. And Another reason why making things modular enough to remove from the bus with generally minimal effort um, makes sense in relation to being able to resell the bus later. Because people might not necessarily like how I have everything laid out. So if I can remove all of my stuff and then just leave the bus with a good floor, good walls, and a good ceiling, essentially a good shell, um, um, someone else will be able to build on top of that and be able to run with that pretty easily. So, that's just, one of those back end things that is kind of the happy aftermath of the concept of wanting to do things the way that I've chosen to do things. So yeah, I mean, that pretty much summarizes everything I wanted to say today. Hopefully by tomorrow I'll have things a little bit more organized with the boxes and whatnot that I have in here, because I want to make things a little more just orderly, because it helps to be able to focus on the ideas that I have and be able to map out things without having to move around a ton of stuff when I need to. Granted, I haven't had to do that since I started piling things in here for the most part, because I got most of my measurements beforehand, but there's always an opportunity to remeasure for whatever I decide to do that if I change my mind on one topic or another. So it's better to, be prepared for that than to have to do that on the back end and go through all the extra effort and piss myself off. I can avoid that. So why not? But yeah, that being said, that's pretty much all I had to offer for today's conversation. With everything that I have said as far as my general ideas and plans, if you guys have any comments or suggestions, please leave them at the bottom of the video. I look forward to hearing from you guys. I like hearing from you guys whenever I do. And I like trying to share what's going on with this whole process in general, and being able to connect with other people who are like-minded and are trying to do the same thing. And I realize that as of right now, I'm basically the only person on the internet that is doing this with a low-floor transit bus on their own, because I've seen a couple channels that there's a couple professional companies that have done some low-floor transit buses, but it's not really necessarily their thing per se. Just something that they were willing to do because someone brought it to them. And I've seen a decent number of people that had transit buses that were high floor, which more so fit into the schooly category because everything's pretty much level, and everything's higher up. But the problem with those is that you also have less internal space, and I wanted the more space internally, and I wanted the ramp, which is why I got a transit bus. And I don't necessarily need an undercarriage. That was outside of the desire of things to have as far as having this thing be functional. I'm happy with the space that I got, and I can do the things that I need to with the space that I got. That would have been the things that were for undercarriage purposes elsewhere. So I'm gonna try to keep it simple. I don't want to have too many like things like water tanks in here and whatnot. Managing too much water in that particular way. But we'll see how it plays out. Because there's a couple of things that I could do concept-wise with that stuff that I haven't really noticed. I haven't come across yet. So I'm gonna kind of keep it open-ended, keep an open mind about it. But I'm definitely hammering down to the finals of what I want to do with the space once I get the floor up. Honestly, that's really the only thing that's keeping me on my toes as far as possibly changing ideas or shifting concepts for what I want and where I want it. I'm about 99% done with the idea of that, but the fact that I haven't done the floor yet means that I can't do that process yet. So chewing on the idea of, if I change this, if I change that, what if I put this over here instead of over there? It basically just keeps my mind occupied while I'm waiting to deal with this floor. So that being said, we'll see if I have the patience this week to wait out getting some help, or if I'm just going to call it a day and move forward hell or high water on my own. Yeah, so that being said, thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you being here, following me, paying attention to all the nonsense that I happen to say here, as well as the tidbits of info that matter to your build or to for your entertainment purposes. I hope I inspire others to do something of a similar nature. Like I said before, I know I'm somewhat of a trailblazer with this because nobody else is out here doing this with a low floor transit bus on their own. Granted, I'm only working with a 35-footer, but still, you know. So yeah, I hope I'm some level of inspiration to somebody out there. I hope that I impart some wisdom and some knowledge onto somebody out there, and I hope someone out there is able to do the same for me. So again, thank you for being here. I'm calling it a night, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Peace.